Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Split Second Broadcasting's coverage of the finale of the 11th season of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series. As tonight, we get ready to crown a champion in the Lone Star State. It's the Championship 225, powered by Roundabout Gaming at the legacy version of the Texas Motor Speedway. For the last couple of weeks, it has been Hunter Madalinas, the defending champion, trying to reel in Matthew Weeks. 8 victories between the two of them, over 600 laps led, and 14 points is the difference between the championship two coming into tonight. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Ross Brockman, and Ross, when we think about Texas, we think about an OK Corral shootout, but being the longest race of the season, it's an endurance battle for the title for these two championship hopefuls.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be really interesting to see how the track drives so far. In practice, what we're seeing is it's definitely a more wide open Texas here with these drivers staying in the gas all the way around the track, at least early on in the run with fresh tires. We'll see if there's anywhere, as the run goes on. But with a long race, I think we will have some potential for some long green flag runs. This is a very wide track in many areas, so I think they can get spread out a little bit, but I think the restarts and the action early is going to be fun to watch and see if our championship contenders can navigate it throughout the night.
What's the mentality got to be for these two drivers? For Matthew Weeks, we talked to him last week when he went into Iowa. He said he was 50-50 about his confidence at that track. He went out and won. He has a lot of confidence coming into tonight. But on the flip side, if you go back to last year, this track was where the venue was that the championship was decided. Madalinas not only won the championship, but he won this race. Where do these two stand in terms of their confidence coming into tonight?
Yeah, I think Madalinas obviously, did a great job last year of just dominating the race, led like 98 of the 150 laps, en route to the championship. Matthew Weeks now, he won on the earlier season, the earlier version of, or I guess the new version of Texas earlier this season, and he's been very good on the mile and a half. So I think both of them are probably pretty confident. Both are qualified up in the top 5 so far in qualifying. So I think that they both probably are feeling pretty good. It's just a matter of how this race plays out and do what you did that got you here. That's kind of the thought that I had for these two, and we'll see if they do that tonight.
Those two will be battling for the championship. There's another 20 drivers in the field here tonight in this finale that would love to end off Season 11 with a checkered flag at the Texas Motor Speedway. As we're going to show you your starting lineup, and you talked about this before we came on the air. Jared Duda sniping a very important bonus point here from the two championship hopefuls, as he's going to start on the pole position. Matthew Weeks close to getting that bonus point, but he'll share the outside of the front row.
Yeah, starting third, Spencer Owens, a past winner here at Texas, our opener winner back at Daytona. Going to see if he can round it out by winning the finale, and then Christian Peterson to his right.
The Great Lakes Racing Truck Series has only been to this version of Texas twice. Defending winner at this race, the defending champion, Hunter Madalinas. He'll roll off the inside of row number 3 alongside of Elliott Henderson.
Starting 7th is the number 11 Nathan Jump, former champion, and starting 8th, the 49 of Shane Neiswanger.
It's been a great season for Jackson Sims. He's going to start on the outside of row 5. He's going to right now try and hold on to 3rd in the overall stands. He will have Brett Malone, who's had a great home stretch of the season run, on the 9th position.
Yeah, starting 11th, the 85 of Cy Jackson. We've seen Cy have a couple great runs the late second half of this season, as long as man, all over the place tonight so far. Nicholas Caressel, who also has had some great runs the second half of the season, starting right next to him in 12th.
Back in row number 7, we're going to find the 63 of Eric Kemp to his outside, Hunter Brittle. A couple of drivers we've seen almost be able to snipe some top 5s here in the last couple of weeks.
Starting 15th, the 13 of Lewis Woodall, and starting 16th, the 42 of Jeremy Pienta.
9's going to find the 5 of Brent Kingcott to his outside, 45 of Kurt Gibson.
Starting 19th is the 4 of Rod Fausnow, and rounding out our top 20, the 41 of Justin Mons.
And making up the final row here tonight for our 22 truck field, the 73 of Kyle Cooper to his outside, the number 28 of James Shiflett. Tonight's Championship 225 is powered by Roundabout Gaming, and on November 21st, join the Roundabout Gaming crew for a 24-hour marathon of gaming, all to benefit children. It's the 2025 24-hour of games, all to benefit Extra Life. You can watch and make a donation on Twitch TV/RoundaboutPro or YouTube.com/@RA_Pro Gaming. 100% of all donations go straight to Extra Life. Join Roundabout Gaming as they play games to heal kids. Great cause here, sponsoring tonight's race. Going to be an incredible run here this evening. Coming into tonight, the longest race we had run prior to this was when we were back at the throwback race at Darlington Raceway. Just a tick under 220 miles here tonight, 225 miles in length. We mentioned an endurance race for these drivers, and we understand as well the setup is somewhat flat out, but this is a tire killer of a racetrack as well. We talk about Matthew Weeks. That kind of plays into his strengths. He's been one of those that's been really good on the long run at a lot of those racetracks where tire wear comes into play.
Yeah, and I think that's part of this, especially if you get some green flag runs. But we also have 6 sets of tires in the pits, so if we get cautions every 15-20 laps, you will have the ability to come down and get tires if you want them, and that might make for a little different type of racing that we've seen compared to the other mile and a half so far this year.
This season started back at the end of April. It gets ready to close out here near the end of October. A champion ready to be crowned here in the Lone Star State as we are green in the season finale. Dead even down the back straightaway here amongst the top 2. Elliot Henderson with a move to the inside. Shows the nose on Spencer Owens. Looks to go 3 wide. Maybe couldn't quite find that grip on the inside line as he tried to stay in the left rear of Spencer Owens.
Yeah, that early jump to the inside for Elliot Henderson there was a nice move to kind of grab a spot in the top 5. Kind of going backwards now. It looks like the top lane through 1 and 2 has been at least this first time through at speed is the place to be, as Peterson on the outside of Weeks here for second. Gets a little bump from Nicewanger going into 3. Going to be side by side for that second spot off of 4 here.
Gotta keep an eye on that 37 if Henderson saw that early move here on the first lap. Now, obviously this racetrack is quite different in terms of the amount of grip these drivers are going to have, but if it plays into a similar drafting style here with the flat out we've been told about, kind of reminds me of when we were back at the current version of the Atlanta Super Speedway. Who won that race? Driver the 37.
Yeah, I think he's and obviously has a interest in just having a teammate here with Madalinas right behind him. I'm interested to see how some of these drivers race tonight with their teammates. There is a team points battle we can potentially highlight at some point later tonight too. So it's an interesting dynamic as you and of course you want to wrap up the season on a high note. If Elliott had the chance to win, I think he'd probably be pretty excited to cap off the season. A little short of the championship, but ultimately a win would be a great way to end it.
You talk about that team championship. We can highlight that here as you've got a couple of Manji Motorsports drivers, 1-2 at the front of the field right now in Jared Duda and Christian Peterson coming into tonight. 9 points is the gap between them and Dark Horse Motorsports. Right now, their highest representative, Matthew Weeks, in the 3rd position, and that not that far back, 33 points behind, is Spectrum Racing, who Elliot Henderson and Madalinas drive for. So you've got representatives of all 3 of those teams up here inside of the top 10. Could be a very, very close points battle here for that team championship before the end of the night is over.
You wonder some of the stuff, what drivers have. Obviously different agendas with what they're trying to accomplish tonight, but some of them with multiple agendas here with trying to win, the driver's title, the team title, all that, but ultimately just going for the win here. And I think so far everybody kind of single file, like we kind of talked about, the opportunity for these drivers to kind of be potentially on the gas here. Eric Kep's moving around. Looks like Brett Malone there for 11th, just outside the top 10, just trying to I think this is a kind of a leapfrog game where you're maybe potentially waiting for the driver in front of you to make a mistake or give a little bit of air to you so you can get to their inside. Nice job by Eric here to look to the inside of Cy Jackson. Going to see if he has a shot at it into 3.
Yep, saw him be able to kind of rotate through the center, be able to point the nose off the corner to have that look to the inside. How difficult is it going to be for these drivers here tonight? With us seeing them getting single filed out, we talk about aero push, dirty air to the nose. How much is that going to come into play for drivers being able to generate that momentum through the center of the corner, be able to make a move, whether it be on the back straightaway or the D-shaped front stretch?
It's super frustrating at times when you're so close. You're like, I could reach out and grab that person, but my truck is just not having enough air here. You see Madalenas get a little bit just following jump here. I think it's it's a little bit tougher to navigate that, and you may have to wait until either they give you a little bit of opportunity or even if the tires wear a little bit. I think this track just seems like there's kind of 2 ways to do it, and I think that the easiest way is to kind of ease it in a little bit into the corners and just make sure you have the power down the straightaways. We've got a nice little battle here, just inside the top 10. But I think entry on the corner, taking it easy, is a lot better than entry or than exit taking it easy, just because you have those long straightaways with the momentum that you get.
There you see us checking in on the point standings as they're currently running. And you see it's going to change yet again as Hunter Madalenas is going the wrong way. He lost the spot to Nathan Jump, just got bypassed by Jackson Sims. He was 14 points behind Weeks coming into tonight, with Weeks currently up in the top 3, and Madalenas fading back towards the latter half of the top 10. That interval has grown, and it's interesting because, you're kind of poring over the stats from last season to this season. It's an entirely different animal for both drivers coming into this championship battle. For Matthew Weeks, last season, finished 5th in the standings, had a great season, but wasn't able to get himself in the championship hunt. We saw him this season not only get his first win in the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series, but then he racked off another 3 victories coming into tonight's finale as the points leader, a track that last year he DNF'd at. You flip the script over to Hunter Madalenas. Last week, got bested by Matthew Weeks at a track that 1 season ago he led all but 1 lap. You mentioned about last season this venue, how he dominated this racetrack again, but now we're seeing Weeks stay up at the front, Madalenas dropping back. The landscape has entirely changed here for both of these drivers from season 10 to season 11.
Yeah, it's a unique situation. The only thing I'd say about Madalenas I noticed is he started 13th last year, and though he led 98 of 150 laps, that obviously his qualifying effort was not that great. So here tonight, maybe just part of just how he drives this track, maybe a little bit more of a being able to be better on the long run. We'll see if potentially later in this run he kind of moves forward and has a shot at it, gaining some ground later in the run, maybe once the tires wear in and you have some options.
Great battle continues to go on here just outside of the top 10. Nicholas Caressel able to hold off. Brett Malone now crosses the inside of Eric Kep. That is for the 11th position. You talk about different drivers with different agendas, and obviously we're going to be highlighting the drivers of the 56 and the 7 during the course of the night as they've got the championship going on. But there's other battles that are going on here to try and finish the best you can in the point standings. Jackson Sims, Elliot Henderson, who we see battling with Shane Neiswanger right here. 2 points separating those two to see who might finish out 3rd in the overall standings here this season. Christian Peterson and Matthew Durr, they're separated by 1 point for 6th in the standings. And we've mentioned about some drivers that have come on strong here at the close of the season, like Nicholas Caressel, Jared Duda. I mean, these are some more drivers that just want to end out the season on a high note, see if they can finish the highest they mathematically can in the final season standings.
For sure, there's always a little bit of bragging rights there, or maybe just trying to, get a personal best, or maybe you had a goal in mind when you either started the playoffs or started the season of where you wanted to finish and what you're expected to do. So it goes all the way to the checkered flag tonight as far as points, regardless if you're not in this championship battle. So some great battles we'll see and see where everybody ends up in that final 10. Right now, I mean, it sure seems like Matthew Weeks up front had an opportunity maybe to move to 2nd on Christian Peterson. Really the only battle we have up in the top 5. I see Nathan Jump here looking to the inside of Elliot Henderson. That would be for 6th. So far in our top 5, 6, they are starting to maybe have a little bit of difference. Now Henderson's going to look to the outside Shane Neiswanger.
Nice run there off at turn 4 and try and ride that momentum into turn 1. Let's see if the side draft comes into play here as he'll get right down on that right rear quarter panel off of turn 2. That's a power move there by driver 37, and you gotta think more drivers behind him are going to notice what he did, and they're going to try that as well. We may end up seeing that single file formation go away as more drivers will be searching up the racetrack for that momentum.
Yeah, and immediately we look. You said that, and I saw Jackson Sims look to the outside of Madalinas. Didn't really get the grip that he thought maybe in 3 and 4, but here now we got Matthew Weeks going to try to the inside again on Christian Peterson. You saw that top lane work so well for Henderson to complete the pass. I think it's going to do kind of the same thing for Peterson here, just to defend it. I think, running that top lane will do that and give you the opportunity to just kind of, free up the steering wheel on exit, and that driver to your inside can't. And that's, there goes Sims through the grass.
Through the grass for the driver of the 6. Looks like he's still in control of it here as he's down off the racing surface. Now it's going to snap around on him. Hard on the brakes. He's going to get control of it. That's a tough break there for him as he was back, I believe, around the 8th position at the time. And just around that area, the turn prior to that off of 2, Shane Neiswanger had a moment. I don't know if he brushed the wall or had to lift out of the throttle. That brought Hunter Madalinas and Jackson Sims to his inside, dropped him from 7th back to the 9th position. So a couple of drivers, couple of playoff contenders having some issues here all in the same lap.
Yeah, that's a long slide there for Sims. It looked like maybe even...
Oh, contact! Whoa!
Getting a little crazy up front.
Gracious. And it's interesting because when we talked with Matthew Weeks last week in Victory Lane, he said, I'm going to go into Texas and I'm going to control what I can control in regards to me and the 7. Well, right now, in terms of track position, he's got Madalinas in the rearview mirror, but right there, he could have very easily just thrown the championship away if he and Peterson hadn't been able to gather those respective trucks up. That was a heart-stopping moment, and we're only 20 laps in.
You wonder, obviously in a lot of different racing series, you have, somebody to be a crew chief or a spotter. You wonder if Weeks has someone in his ear tonight. I would hope they're saying, hey, long way to go here. Don't get frustrated over one position that we don't necessarily need for this championship. But yeah, that's a interesting moment to see, and that somebody like Peterson, that's in their mind of like, okay, you're willing to kind of, be a little, I guess, not rough necessarily, but maybe, willing to take every inch, and that's something that maybe is a little bit of aggressive for a driver that's racing for a championship.
Great save there from Matthew Weeks, and he will now try and get back into his rhythm here, about a car length off the back bumper of Christian Peterson. Peterson, a multi-time winner coming into this season. Most victories on the season at 5. There is a 3-way tie behind him with Weeks, Madalinas, and Nanny at 4. As looks like Weeks is going to get a little bit closer here through 3 and 4. Ooh, you can see the back end stepping out there of Christian Peterson off the corner as we're on board with the 56. And I got to assume, with what we've been told, knowing about the worn out track surface and whatnot, that loose sensation we just saw off the corner probably is not going to get much better the more laps we turn.
Yeah, and I think that idea of just having the ability to kind of stay in the gas early on in the run is going to make that right rear kind of be the one that wears, especially you just kind of leaning on it as you power through these corners. So of course that's just going to wear that tire out more and make it much easier to slide as you go. So I think that's what we're seeing with some of these drivers here, middle portions of this run. And you saw Peterson off of 2 last time really go for that slide. It'll be fun to see these guys if they continue to do that. It's kind of fun to have a little mixture of both of the, tons of grip early in the run and then potentially losing it as the run goes. It'll be interesting to see when people want to pit. Will they come down a little earlier to short pit, try to get those tires on right away, because there will be a distinct advantage to getting the new rubber right away.
And how is that going to be in terms of an issue for the championship drivers here in what you just mentioned about drivers potentially trying the undercut, because for 20 other drivers here tonight, they don't really have to worry about the championship. They can do what they want, maybe go outside the box in terms of strategy to try to win this race. Do we see a number of drivers try that kind of a strategy here, kind of with the nothing to lose mentality in this finale?
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity for some of these drivers to do that. I think, as this is playing out, we got a long way to go, of course, but I think that, if you're Hunter Madalinas, it might not be a bad idea to try the undercut just to put a little pressure on Matthew Weeks. You have not as much to lose just being the guy that's a little bit farther down, as we got a three-way battle here. The Woodall got in the wall a little bit off at 2. Nice little battle here outside the top 10.
As I believe 14th through 16th right now. You've got the 41 of Justin Mons in this conversation as well. Kyle Cooper trying to close up, try to make it a 4-man fight for a spot just outside of the top 10. Shane Neiswanger, you see him there currently trying to hold off Eric Kemp. That's a battle for 12th. After we saw him have that moment off of turn 2 after run up inside of the top 10, that 49 has not really looked the same, and I don't know if this is a matter of him maybe making some contact with the wall off of 2 when we saw him have his moment, or if the tires have just majorly gone away on his Silverado.
Yeah, drivers just moving back. If I looking at the running board, the one that's fallen back the most since the start, 5 spots back. So just going backwards a little bit, and that might be a part of the incident, or potentially just maybe using up the stuff a little bit early. Here we got Madalinas to the inside of Spencer Owens, and I think Madalinas definitely looks like he's starting to gain a little bit of speed here, just a couple tenths faster than everybody else in the top 5 that last lap. So definitely maybe pretty good on the long run tonight, which is something we saw last week too. We were kind of surprised that Madalinas being good on the long run. He's usually good the entire run, but that long run pace is what we've seen out of Weeks, the other contender tonight.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he's definitely found something here, because about 15-20 laps ago, we were talking about him maybe dropping out of the top 10. He was back as far as 9th. He's now marched his way back up to the 4th position, and the driver next on his hit list would be the driver he's trying to run down for the championship, that being the 56 of Matthew Weeks, who I believe is, again, trying to get to the inside of the 71 of Christian Peterson for 2nd place, not finding much success. That driver that we saw Hunter Madalinas bypass, that 23 of Spencer Owens, looking for a bookend season. We saw him get the first checkered flag of season 11 all the way back in April at the Daytona International Speedway. He's had a consistent season, had a couple of bumps in the road during the playoffs that finds him coming in tonight's finale 8th in the standings. But you look at the season overall, the number of tracks that he's had really good finishes at, don't count him out as a possibility to maybe join the multi-win club here before the season comes to a close.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously a winner in the past here, and ultimately, you'd love to grab another victory before the end of the season, but I guess next up, Daytona, you're back to where you won before, so just have to wait throughout the off-season, as Week's going to be to the inside of Peterson again. You wonder if, you'd mentioned how Henderson used that top lane to make a pass early on in this run, and a couple of drivers in the back saw that. You wonder if your Weeks, he talked a little bit last week about his practice style and what he does, and it seems like he doesn't run around a lot of other drivers during practice. It's just maybe, I'd love to see him try maybe that outside lane. I guess right now Peterson's been using it kind of regardless of where Weeks is at, but now it looks like he may finally get this pass done and take over second.
See if he can clear him here into the entry of 1. Looks like he does indeed have the 71 in his rearview mirror. You look back, that next truck would be Hunter Madalinas, about maybe 8-9 car lengths down the back straightaway, but Weeks will put a buffer between himself and that 7, and now he'll see if he can set his sights on Jared Duda, 2-time winner on the season, Jared Duda. Let's give him his credit, as so far this season we've seen him be pretty dominant at the shorter ovals. He dominated at the paperclip short track of Martinsville. We saw him run really well and pick up his 2nd victory on the season at the historic track of Rockingham. Haven't seen that success in terms of victory lane translate over to the bigger ovals. Maybe tonight is the night. We saw him put down a flyer of a qualifying lap, and he's led every lap since the start of this race.
Yeah, doing a great job so far. And I think just to add to being very fast early on, having Weeks and Peterson kind of battle, giving him the opportunity to pull away here by over a second. So a good spot to be in. We've seen him do this a couple times this year, like you said, on the short tracks, and it just seems like when he's got it figured out, he's very fast and able to get up here, lead some laps, and see if he can finish it off tonight. But I just was looking, we're only a couple laps away from potential pit stops here. I think you can go about 40 laps on a tank of fuel, so I think you're going to see a handful of drivers hitting pit road here shortly. I see Lewis Woodall pitted a couple laps ago, back on lap 31. I see Jackson Sims, who went for that big slide, is now on pit road, so some of these drivers hitting pit road. As we get close to that window, here comes Jeremy Pienta, and I think we're going to see more here in the next few laps.
See who of our front runners are going to be some of the first ones to dive onto pit lane, as this has been a fun battle to watch back here just inside the latter portion of the top 10. I don't think anybody's gotten as high up in the corner as the 40 of Nicholas Caressel. He's been larcening it around these corners here almost on a first name basis with that outside save for barrier. He's been making it work, but he's also kind of been given some heart-stopping moments as that truck's been all sorts of loose off of the corner, but maybe that's the way he likes it.
It is kind of fun to, especially when you're in a battle like this with these guys, being able to kind of slide around and get momentum, and then you pull to the inside, then they get to your outside, and then they're back and forth sometimes. So some close racing. It's gonna be a little nerve-wracking when you're in a group like this as we close in. Wow, big slide there by Russell down to the bottom, still sliding through the middle of the tri-oval. But with pit stops coming up, this is a little bit of a unique pit road getting down to it, because you got to use some of the banking to kind of get yourself slowed down. So be a little tense moments here as we hit green flag pit stops, especially for a pack like this of drivers that are battling.
You saw right there the 13 of Lewis Woodall fly around these three trucks. No, they didn't put nitrous in the truck. No, he doesn't have an illegal part. That's the difference between 40 fresh Goodyear tires against 40 lap old tires. That is a major difference in speed, in maneuverability around the racetrack, and that is why we're kind of highlighting those up at the front who might be some of the first to dive onto pit road, because that's the advantage that you get on your outlap as opposed to those that are still out there on the worn out rubber.
Yeah, huge part of this is Duda, as our leader, is coming down pit road. It looks like Weeks is going to stay out here. Peterson's going to follow teammate Duda here, so handful of our leaders going to hit pit road. Weeks is going to inherit the lead with his championship battler, or I guess second to him in the points. Madalinas also running second here. I imagine they're going to hit pit road here in this next lap.
Fresh tires of Woodall going to go by Madalinas here, trying to get himself back onto the lead lap. A couple of other drivers have also hit pit road here in the last couple of laps, including Eric Kev, Brett Kingcott, and Kurt Gibson. Cy Jackson on pit road, Rod Fastnow. We got a bunch of on pit road this time, including Matthew Weeks, Nathan Jump. Hunter Brittle's had a moment here on the front straightaway, but he keeps it rolling. We've also got Elliot Henderson, Spencer Owens, Caressel, Malone, Mons, Cooper, Shiplet, and Nicewunger all on pit road this time around.
Yeah, and Matthew Weeks was able to hit pit road. It was really Madalinas was the only one. I think Brittle actually also the only one not to pit it. He must have been a situation of just trying to get down to pit road. We'll have to see here. We get a replay of it, but Madalinas now going to be hitting pit road, be the last one, along with Brittle here, coming down the second time, giving it a try. But that it's going to cycle everybody through. But yeah, like I said, it's a tough pit road to get down to. You got to really get on the brakes, use the banking. Maybe come up. Oh, big slide.
He was straddling that white line there that kind of separates the banking from the racetrack. Did that maybe offset the truck there as he was on the brakes?
I could see that, even also on the brakes, it just seems like your steering goes away. So even if you could correct it, it's, hard to do that, kind of, make that decision to get off the brake, but also, to try to steer into it if you are sliding a little bit, especially on older tires. But that's a really interesting moment, because you wonder, what would have happened there if that, that typically would have brought out a caution. I guess he kept moving a little bit, but a huge contact with the outside wall and was able to keep the race green. But we saw Madalinas was leading the race at that moment. Weeks was on pit road, and then our leaders with Duda and Peterson were also on pit road. So that would have been really interesting to see if a caution came out, but it didn't. Now we've cycled all the way through. Lewis Woodall, who pitted first about 9 laps before everybody else, has a nice lead now. Going to grab this lead here, and we'll see how long he can stay up there.
Woodall was running 14th before he made the dive to pit road for those fresh Goodyear tires, and now, to your point, he has cycled up to the front. Now, granted, he's at about an 8-9 lap deficit to the fresh tires behind him now, but that just shows the chunk of track position you can gain if you go outside the box in terms of strategy. So you gotta think, drivers observe, they notice things, and you gotta think a lot of these guys up here inside of the top 10 noticed that the 13 was able to gain double digits in the running order. If we get close to the end of this race and it comes down to that money pit stop, we could see a lot of drivers rolling the dice with a major undercut strategy.
Yeah, and ultimately he pitted within the window to make it on 2 more stops. So if this turns into a full green race, it's not going to put him in that much of a bad situation, because ultimately he still needs to make 2 more pit stops along with everybody else. So he's going to lose the lead here in another, I guess, a few seconds as Duda looks to the inside here. But I don't blame him for doing something different. Lewis just trying to do something a little different. Obviously, why not try to grab the lead here? And if you get a caution at some point in this run, especially when you're up here in the top 10, get an opportunity to kind of turn your night around and grab some track position and reset and go back at it if a caution comes out.
So Jared Duda re-inherits the lead, nearing a third of the way through tonight's season finale. Hunter Madalinas is going to cycle around, it looks like, to the 5th position as he just got around Nathan Jump, and just ahead of him is Matthew Weeks. There are 2 laps difference on the tires of the 56 to the tires on the 7. Advantage to Madalinas. How long does that advantage last? Is there a point of this run, if we continue to trend green, where it kind of evens out, or is this advantage to the 7 the entirety of this run?
I think just maybe a tiny bit throughout the run. I think obviously early on maybe there's not a ton, but I think it's just a matter of just slowly being a little bit faster every single lap. I just looked at the last time. About a 10th difference, maybe. Madalina's just a little bit faster. Right now you don't have as much traffic to deal with. You're not racing around a lot of other drivers, so it gives you an opportunity to just kind of hit optimum lap time and hit your marks. And I think Madalinas is going to probably run down Weeks at some point here in this run. We'll just see if when it happens, and we'll see if that 1 lap difference makes a difference once we get through this run.
With the exception of that cycle of green flag pit stops, so far here tonight, Matthew Weeks has had track position on Hunter Madalinas. I want to go back to something that he mentioned last week when we told him he had that 14-point cushion coming into tonight. He said that was important for one major reason, and that was if Madalinas won this race, he could still finish 2nd behind him and win the championship. So already thinking ahead to tonight, if at a point Madalinas gets up there to the 56, does he battle him or does he let him go and just try and keep him within his vision?
Yeah, I think if you're the 56, you're going to probably be okay letting him go. I think at some point we also know, it just seemed like he was a little bit faster than the 71, so does Weeks potentially catch Peterson at some point in this run around the same time as Madalinas does? That would be very interesting to see all 3 of them kind of get together at the same time. But I think if you're Madalinas, you're going to be aggressive around Weeks. Not, I'm not saying take him out or run into him at all, but I think you're going to take no, give no room, because you want to make sure that Weeks knows you mean business here, and again, not cause a problem, but ultimately just show that, like, hey, I'm here to win this race, because I know that's the only way that you're going to be maybe in trouble with this championship.
Well, we've completed a cycle of green flag pit stops, and you have to complete a cycle on a roundabout. Speaking of a roundabout, this race sponsored by Roundabout Gaming on November 21st. You can join the Roundabout Gaming crew for a 24-hour marathon of gaming, all to benefit children. It's the 2025 24 Hours of Games, all to benefit Extra Life. You can watch and make a donation on Twitch TV /RoundaboutPro or YouTube.com/@RA_Pro Gaming. 100% of all donations go straight to Extra Life. Join Roundabout Gaming as they play games to heal kids. Nearing 55 laps completed in tonight's finale here at the Texas Motor Speedway. All 22 drivers are still running, 21 of them on the lead lap. The only lap truck is Jackson Sims. He had a lengthier stop on pit road. Not sure if that was for maybe some damage repair after his excursion through the infield grass here on the front straightaway. He kind of hopped over the Legends course in the grass between the front stretch and pit road. But he is multiple laps down right now. Tough break there for him, who has put together such an incredible season, came into this race third in the point standings, and we documented about his streak of, I think it was top 6 finishes, starting all the way back at the regular season finale and leading into the playoffs. Tonight may be the worst finish he's going to have in these playoffs, but an incredible season 11 for this driver.
I think, though it doesn't look like it's going to happen tonight, just being multiple laps down after that big slide, I think that's my goal to see for next season, is to see Jackson Sims grab that victory. It's been so close all year. I know he's been very consistent, but it'd be awesome to see him finally get to victory lane after many seasons of racing here in the Great Lakes Truck Series. But a valiant effort and ultimately a heck of a job. We talk about Madalinas and Weeks talking about that win bonus. For Sims to be able to be all the way up in the top 5 in points without winning any races, that's a impressive feat, because you're not relying on those bonus points. You're relying just on those 1 point per position battles throughout. That's a great job by him.
Yeah, and to your point, this playoff system, 10 drivers began the journey, and it's not a winning you're in system. You had to point your way into the top 10 in the standings, and of course, it's not a winning you're in multiple rounds here in the playoffs. It was who could be the most consistent during the postseason. Our 2 championship drivers had to do the exact same thing. Both Weeks and Madalinas coming into tonight each only had 1 finish outside of the top 10, a 12th for Madalinas, a 13th for Matthew Weeks. All other finishes were up inside of the top 10. So while they've been able to find victory lane along the way 4 different times for each driver, they found the consistency in the races that they didn't close out the victories.
Yeah, really stepping it up when it's most valuable to do so. Weeks is going to get by Peterson here off of 4. That last time it was really close, and I think Peterson now going to maybe look to the inside a little bit, but I think Weeks got it and going to move away from the 71. But a great little battle there for second. Now we see Jeremy Pienta using the top lane, battling here with Eric Kep.
He was way up the track, almost kind of running up where we saw Nicholas Caressel running earlier on, kind of trying to straddle that upper seam. Oh, and he's going to get the wall there a little too high off of turn 4. There's a difference between brushing the wall and pounding the wall. That looked like maybe a pounding the wall, and how does that affect the truck for the remainder of the run?
It's not much fun when you do have a little bit of damage, because it's sometimes just going to make your truck a little bit harder to turn, a little more, a little tighter, maybe even a little slower too. So yeah, obviously, I think you saw, Jackson Sims went for that big slide, and maybe even, I'm not sure, maybe he grabbed the wall too, as Pienta's going to get it again. Big damage on the front stretch.
That was a massive hit there on the first crook of the DJ front straightaway, and that might be a suspension problem. He's having trouble turning that truck.
This is a scary moment here. Just a lot of opening right now, so hopefully he can get down and get out of the way. Looks like here the 4 Rod Fowles now going to go by. Pienta's going to get down to the apron here, but tough break for Jeremy, and ultimately going to have to work on some damage here.
Some contact for him as here's Lewis Woodall back on pit road. Is this a little sooner than we'd expect to see him make his second trip to pit lane. We saw him be one of the first to pit road at the starting cycle.
Yeah, but I would be a little nervous. This is getting, obviously you feel pretty confident when you come get those tires to be able to run all the way up and grab the lead. And this is going to give him an opportunity to get the lead again, but it's going to make that last run be very long and maybe even tough to make it all the way. So I guess the gamble we talked about earlier, maybe not as big of a deal, but now this is going to make it even a bigger gamble. So I go for it. I'm all for it. Obviously, last race of the year, what the heck? Might as well try something different.
A couple of drivers here battling just outside of the top 10. This is 11th position under contest. A few drivers that have been part-time here this season. Justin Mons in the 41, who has made 18 I should say, of the previous starts so far this season, trying to hold off the 73 of Kyle Cooper, who's making his 6th start on the season. They're trying to see if not only they can battle with each other, but close up on Brent Malone for a chance to fight inside of the top 10. And you talked about Jackson Sims and looking forward to season 12 with what we've seen out of him here. Maybe this is going to lead to him finding victory lane. You look at some of these other drivers like we just saw there in Justin Mons and Kyle Cooper, Brett Malone. We mentioned Cy Jackson's come on strong here second half of the season. I mean, these are drivers you got to wonder what knowledge they've gleaned here in season 11 and then can apply to season 12 as they try and make themselves contenders in the postseason.
Yeah, I'd love to see, it's always fun to see new drivers slowly make their way through a season or two and become, like we've seen with Matthew Weeks, who we saw Eric kept just hitting. He's the opposite, not a newer driver, been here for so many of them. But another one I want to throw out as we finish up tonight on our final race is Josh Robin, who's not racing tonight, but officially going to wrap up Rookie of the Year. So that's another little battle, but he's kind of had that wrapped up for most of the season. But another guy that's new to the series that had their moments this year, and I'd love to see them come back and continue to potentially go for some of these top fives and top 10s, top fives, and maybe even go for a win next year.
Congratulations to Josh on wrapping up Rookie of the Year for season 11. You look a little further back here, you see that bright highlighter yellow number 11 of Nathan Jump. He's been up in the top 5 pretty much all night long, and you talk about drivers that have been consistent this season. He's been consistent for about the first 2/3, 3/4 of a race, but he's had a lot of difficulty closing out the finishes. His best finish coming in tonight was a 5th place. That was back at Martinsville. We have seen him in the conversation multiple times this season. He's just not been able to close out the deal. Looking consistent again here tonight. What could a top 5 or even a win do for his confidence heading into next week, or not next week, I should say, next season, with the struggles he's had in the latter portion of the races here in this 11th season?
Yeah, I think even just running top 5 probably feels good, because I mean that's probably where Nathan Jump feels he should be running every week. And I think, yeah, like you said, he's had some things just happen this year, maybe some of them his mistake or someone else's mistake, but ultimately this is where he's supposed to run, and so maybe it just kind of feels a little bit of confidence and feel good about I can still do this and maybe contend for a championship in the future. But looking up front here, we're going to have a battle for the lead here, it looks like, as Jared Duda's moving back into the clutches of Matthew Weeks, who's looked to the inside here the last couple corners.
It's the first challenge Jared Duda is going to deal with in the form of the points leader. As Weeks was able to get by Peterson, he's closed up the gap to Duda, and he is looking for his 5th win on the season as well as the championship. Going to hook the bottom of the racetrack here. Duda going to run the middle, try to pinch him down, and you've got that truck up ahead there of Hunter Brittle. How much is he coming into play and maybe determining who wins out in this battle?
I think it definitely part of it here. Once we get down into 1 and 2, you might feel a little bit of air on your truck if you're trying to get back to the gas. Brittle ran kind of in the middle, a little higher, maybe gave Weeks an opportunity to still get a little bit of air, but Weeks, I think, is going to grab this spot here into 3. I think ultimately maybe trying to, get close enough to know that with Brittle catching up to him, there was an opportunity to use him kind of as a pick, but going to get this pass done and now move to the inside of Hunter Brittle and try to grab this lead and get away, because ultimately Duda has fallen back, and then Peterson is also caught up here in third, not too far back, and then right behind him is Hunter Madalena. So our top four really not too far away for middle portions of this race and the middle of this long green flag run here.
Jared Duda locked up the bonus point for the pole position earlier on tonight. He was only about maybe 6 or 7 laps away from locking up the bonus point for most laps led as we approach the halfway point. That bonus point is still up for contest now with him losing the lead. And then, of course, there's the bonus points if you win this race. So those bonus points still in play right now for the 2 championship hopeful drivers. Tough break for Eric Kempf in the 63. We ended up seeing him play some strategy last week when we were at Iowa Speedway, tried to gain track position with short pitting under green flag pit stop cycles. He tried again here, but unfortunately was caught speeding. That puts him currently 4 laps down to the race leaders. Last truck running in the 21st position, and Jeremy Pienta, we saw pound the wall there on the front straightaway. They have taken his number 42 to the garage area.
Yeah, shout out to Eric Kempf. I'm going to say, not sure what his future is in the league. I know he's hinted at maybe not running full time as much anymore, or what. But this week, this league, once it wraps up, they have an off season kind of winter fun league, and he made a paint scheme for every single driver for that league. So thanks to Eric Kempf and all he does. It's really he's all about what this league is and been here forever.
I saw those photos. Those IROC-looking cars look absolutely incredible as we see Kurt Gibson on pit road here. I believe he had a bit of an issue getting onto pit lane. And this is interesting because I thought I would ask a question, but then I decided to leave it to the side when everybody came down pit road and didn't get hit with speeding penalties on the first cycle. Now we're starting to see drivers having some mistakes. Kept with the speeding penalty. We see Gibson getting loose there. Just how worrying is that got to be if you're the 2 championship drivers now? Yes, you've been able to successfully get onto pit road and off of pit road once, but you got to do it at least 2 more times.
Yeah, and this is we're seeing more drivers maybe venture off of the hit every 40 laps strategy. We saw so many people lap 40, 41, 42. Now we're going to probably see this next time. It's going to be 75, 78, 79, 81, 83. It's going to spread everybody out a little bit too. So now, potentially you're going to have some drivers on newer tires, some on older tires. Oh, there goes Spencer Owens in the background. Yeah, I think everybody's going to have some trouble with this pit road, and it's just a matter of, if you're hitting pit road at the same time as others, and potentially also, bringing out a caution, which would really change the whole complexion of the race too.
It's hard to tell. Looks like maybe some damage sustained on that left front quarter panel of the 23 as he was facing towards the pit wall here. Just locks him up under braking. You see those rear tires lock up and it just doesn't woe up. I'm not necessarily certain he got that thing woed down to pit road speed either, so that's just kind of insult to injury if indeed he gets hit with a black flag on top of that damage sustained, and do have confirmation he was speeding. So another driver that was up inside of the top 10 for a majority of this race. Looks like he's going to have to try and salvage what he can here tonight, especially if this race continues to trend green with no hope of a caution to save you and lucky dogs to get you back into the fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of these, I would say almost the back half of this entire field that is really just maybe hoping for a caution at some point. Is wow, Christian Peterson with Madalena's right on his bumper goes for a big slide there off of 2. It's yeah, they're still sliding around, especially here. This is getting down to the last couple laps of this run. We're going to see these front runners make pit stops. Here comes the 5 of Kingcock, going to be on those fresher tires, going to make it 3 wide. It's going to get a little hairy through 1 and 2.
And how difficult is that got to be for the driver that's on the fresh tires as opposed to the drivers that are on the older tires, of knowing where you stand in terms of the grip underneath you? Obviously, there's got to be some type of major communication of, hey, I got fresh tires, give me a lane here because I'm going to be so much faster than you guys through the corners.
I think, ultimately it's as dangerous of a move as the driver on the fresh tires wants it to be. If they, and Brent did a great job of just basically hugging the grass the whole way through the front stretch there, and it gave the 7 and the 71 the opportunity to still have their battle and just get by and get through it. So a nice job either way, even though 3 wide through that front stretch can be a little sketchy, as we see Henderson's now going to hit pit road. Justin Mons, we saw at the top of the screen back there, going to hit pit road as well. About perfect spot here in the window.
Lap prior to, I believe. And here come the Manji Motorsports cars. Jared Duda and Christian Peterson from 2nd and 4th, respectively.
We saw, basically these two pit together the last run, and then it was Weeks who pitted a lap later, and then Madalenas 2 laps after that. You wonder if that hitting a lap later or 2 laps later could be stretched out a little bit further this time. Weeks is going to run 2 laps here. Looks like Madalena's going to continue to run 2 as well as I guess it'll just be those two. Nathan Jump in between them, who just pitted on that last lap. Or actually, he pitted a handful of laps ago, sorry.
Rod Fastnow has also hit pit road. Nicholas Caressel side. Jackson just made the dive onto pit lane. They've been having some really good runs here tonight inside of the top 10. Kyle Cooper is going to join them as we still await the top 2. Our 2 championship drivers here, and Matthew Weeks makes the dive to pit road here. Madalenas will stay out the extra lap, much like he did on the first cycle.
I just looked up, and right now it looks pretty calm pit road entry for Matthew Weeks, but we may have to go back and take a look. I think Shane Neiswanger went for a slide right in front of him. James Shiflett was also pitting there at the same time. So all 3 of them kind of coming to pit road entry at the same time. Weeks was able to just stay to the right, go past both of them, and enter pit road, but that was a little nerve-wracking as Madalenas is coming down to a clear pit road now for himself.
There you see, Neiswanger on the left side, but a couple of heart-stopping moments for the points leader coming into tonight. We saw him have that save after contact between himself and Peterson for 2nd place at the time earlier on in this race. Has to avoid the mayhem at pit road entry here, but so far everything's been working out in his favor, and now Hunter Madalenas is on pit road, and this should cycle the 11 of Nathan Jump, who was one of the first of the front runners onto pit road. This should cycle him to the race lead.
And we talked about it. This is Jump running up in the top 5 is probably where he expects to run, and going to try a little strategy here. I like this call. He's within the window to be able to make it on one more stop. Like I said before, that's a good spot to be in where you can be a little aggressive here, and ultimately if it goes green to the end, you still can salvage probably a top 10 finish, but be a chance to lead for a while here with a 5-second gap.
Now, the only 2 drivers right now that don't like seeing Nathan Jump out in front leading this race would be Matthew Weeks and Hunter Madalenas. Why? Because with him being out in front and leading these laps here, that now takes the most laps led bonus point out of the hands of both of those championship drivers. So there's only bonus points for winning the race left on the table for either of these drivers to try and cash in on.
Just looking at Hunter Madalenas, they're passing James Shiflett. I'm not sure if there was contact, but it was a close moment there as he kind of was driving through there. Little fresher tires, looked like maybe just a chance of getting close, and then ultimately on exit kind of maybe just messed up Madalenas' momentum and just kind of his typical line, and he got really close off of 4. So lots of navigating some traffic right now and just working around the different agendas on tires here. It's just a unique spot to be in, and you got to remind yourself it's a long race with these 2 drivers battling for this championship. You got to be there at the end to have a chance at it.
See, Brett Malone was able to make his way by Lewis Woodall, move him up to 7th. He's been really good in the races that we've seen him partake in as Nathan Jump continues to lead after the second cycle of pit stops. 1 more trip to pit road still to be made. Matthew Weeks currently in 4th, Hunter Madalenas in 6th. Not a whole lot has changed as far as the interval between those 2. It was 14 points coming into this race. It's only increased by the 2 points, the 2 positions separating those 2. But again, the narrative so far here tonight has been Madalenas trying to chase down Matthew Weeks. Weeks has, for the most part in this race, had the track position advantage over the 7.
Yeah, continued to pull away here, or at least for now, keep that gap. See the points as they run. Just really, Madalinas is going to have a second half of this race here. Even this last run, have a chance to be up in that top 3 and at least close enough to potentially pass Weeks and put the pressure on that way. That's the only opportunity he has right now. If you get a caution, get a reset, then maybe that would potentially give him another chance at it. But right now, nice job by Matthew Weeks of just running his race and ultimately going to maybe have a shot at potentially contending for the win as well.
See Henderson 5th in the running order. Looks like he may pretty much have 3rd in the overall standings locked up here tonight, provided that he doesn't have an issue in the final 60 laps of this race, as Jackson Sims had an issue in the early going. Shane Nicewanger we saw most recently have an issue on pit road, as did Spencer Owens in the 23, and he's about to have his teammate Hunter Madalinas on his back door for that 5th position. Looks like there's definitely a lot more speed, a lot more grip in that 7 truck through the center of the corner, so he will easily get by his teammate and make his way back up into the top 5.
Have to wonder if all of a sudden we get into that last window. Could Hunter Madalinas potentially pit early and try to do like what Nathan Jump has done and go up there and grab this lead for that last run, even though you'll be on a deficit of tires and maybe it's not something that would give you the opportunity to win the race. It maybe just give you the track position, maybe a caution comes out, but ultimately just does something to maybe give Matthew Weeks a little bit of pressure and feel like something is out of his control by going up there and grab the lead. It's worked so far for Nathan Jump here. He's gonna continue to have this lead maybe for another lap or so, and a great opportunity here to get some TV time with us and ultimately lead some laps.
So the 13 of Lewis Woodall back on pit road. While most of these drivers are going with the 3-stop strategy, it looks like he's going for the 4-stop strategy, pitting every 30 laps. It's kind of worked out in his favor on the back end of the cycle of pit stops, but we'll have to see if that extra pit stop that he's going to have to make coming up here, if that will continue to have him up in the conversation and maybe snipe a top 10, maybe even a top 5 if circumstances work out at the conclusion. Lead change here as Jared Duda makes his way back to the point, getting around Nathan Jump. And you bring up a good question there, because obviously we're here in Texas. Texas Hold'em poker, of course, very prominent in this state. And with what we've seen out of Madalinas running a little bit longer against the pit stops that we've seen for Matthew Weeks, anywhere from 1 to 2 laps further when the 56 makes the dive, is this to maybe hold the cards close to the chest, make Matthew Weeks think he's going to run that strategy again here for the final pit stop, and maybe catch him flat-footed with an alternative strategy of a major undercut?
Yeah, I like that move, especially now you're looking here. You're going to see Matthew Weeks, who's, caught up now to Nathan Jump and Christian Peterson. We're riding with Christian Peterson here. He's going to have to navigate both of these drivers, potentially even get past Jared Duda at some point to cycle back to the lead on this run. If you're Madalinas, maybe it's an opportunity to drive all the way up here. You have the freshest tires of all these drivers. It may just take so long to get up there. Maybe it's, drive all the way up, and before you have to work on passing potentially Nathan Jump or Christian Peterson, maybe you make that move then. I think that would be a great call to potentially try something. But some of these times it takes a little bit of work to make a pass. We've seen Weeks, here he's going to close up on Peterson. It might take him a few laps to get around him. It's been something of a battle between those two pretty much all night tonight.
I got to give the drivers kudos here as well. It's been an incredible season for us to cover, and one of the big things that has made it enjoyable is we've run some really difficult racetracks, but we have been treated to tremendous long green flag run racing, which I think has put pressure on drivers in terms of execution as well, and that's how we've ended up seeing the drivers that have battled for the championships, those that have been able to execute the best. But here tonight we had that caution scare with Hunter Brittle. We did not see the yellow flag wave. We documented this is the longest race of the season for the finale. We're about to cross the lap 100 threshold, and the flagman has had absolutely nothing to do since he started this race.
I think this track and layout, I remember a few seasons ago we gave it a try in this league, and it was a race similar to this. Everybody keeping a clean, challenging race, but ultimately a great job by all the drivers and made it now become a staple in our championship location. And I think that's what's happened so far the couple times we've run here, and it continues tonight. I think yeah, great job by all these drivers. We saw how challenging it is, but the ability for these drivers, most of them coming down on pit road, but some of them even on track, but they were able to keep this race green by getting it saved and getting back rolling.
Could very well have our third different winner at this venue in this series. Of course, Hunter Madalinas, the defending winner of this race. Right now, the only hope of there being a multi-time winner at the Legacy version of Texas, holding down the 5th position. The other driver that formerly had won here was Spencer Owens. We saw him have his issue on pit road. He's currently a lap down in the 19th position.
Just going to look to the inside of jump here. This is another opportunity to move up and grab another position. Obviously, jump a little bit older tires, so a pretty easy pass, but we'll see when Nathan Jump hits pit road here. He's going to, they're just a couple laps away from getting within this final window if he wants to come down and do it again and try to grab the lead late in this last run and hope for maybe a caution to bring everybody down pit road at the same time.
Lap 100 threshold has been crossed 2/3 of the way. We're now in the home stretch of the finale, the home stretch of the season. And on November 21st, join the Roundabout Gaming crew for a 24-hour marathon of gaming, all to benefit children. It's the 2025 24 hours of games, all to benefit Extra Life. You can watch and make a donation on Twitch TV /RoundaboutPro or youtube.com/@RA_Pro Gaming. 100% of all donations go straight to Extra Life. Join Roundabout Gaming as they play games to heal kids. Well, these drivers are not playing games, as look at that block by Jared Duda down the back straightaway, trying to hold off Matthew Weeks, who is trying to close out the season with his career 5th victory in the series and trying to wrap up the championship all in one healthy package. It's interesting too, because in this type of a series with this type of a point system, you don't necessarily have to win the finale to win the championship. It's not a one race for the championship battle like they have in the current NASCAR series. However, it certainly seems like Matthew Weeks has come into this race with the mentality of must win. At least that's what his driving style has seemed to be here.
I talked about it, we said it last week, about a 7th, 8th place finish, depending on the bonus points. I think it's down to 9th now, with the bonus points not going to either of our championship contenders as far as where he needs to finish. But if you go into this race after running 20-some races, knowing your goal is to potentially lead laps and win races, that's your best opportunity to score maximum points, and then go to the last race and be like, well, not tonight, all I need to do is finish 6th. Let's try to finish 6th. That's just a good way to make a mistake and have issues. So I give Matthew Weeks all the credit for doing exactly what got him here, and that's what you need to do to make sure you're in the best spot. And now it gives him a lot of breathing room here on this last run when we get to this last pit stop in case a mistake or any issues come up.
We mentioned about the fact that he got his first win of his career in this series all the way back at, what do you know? Another D-shaped 1.5-mile legacy version of a racetrack, the Atlanta Motor Speedway. That was back in the beginning portions of May. He would go on to victory lane 3 other times this season. And consider these statistics for him as well. This is the 22nd start of the season for him. Those 4 victories, 2 times he started from the pole position, 11 top 5s and 14 top 10s. He has over 300 laps led coming into tonight. You talk about a banner year, and if he can put the cherry on top with his 5th trip to victory lane here tonight, I mean, what more can you say about the guy? I mean, that is a season to look back on.
For sure. I mean, ultimately, I would say the second half of this race really kind of figuring it out even more. Obviously, a little bit fresher tires than the 53 and the 71. But Madalinas has a lap fresher tires, and really Weeks has been running a 10th faster almost every lap the last couple laps. So still able to be great on the long run here, even against his competitors that have just a little bit fresher tires, even if it's just one lap. So just doing a great job this second half. I think once it kind of got spread out even more, it gave him an opportunity to just have the full track and utilize the clean racetrack to get the right lap times and probably save the tires as we've seen Weeks do so well all season.
That's probably the furthest thing from his mind right now, but you got to wonder, too, about that team battle, the team championship. Manji Motorsports right now still has Jared Duda and Christian Peterson up in second and third. Matthew Weeks is leading the charge for Dark Horse Motorsports. However, he's the lone guy carrying the banner currently, as a couple of his teammates have had some issues on pit road. Shane Neiswanger and Spencer Owens. That might open up the door for Spectrum Racing to get back into this conversation. They were 33 points back coming into tonight, and you've got both Madalinas and Henderson still up here inside of the top 6. So that championship is not yet decided. A lot can still change between those 3 top teams in these final 40 laps.
Yeah, and you never know. I don't want to jinx it, but there always could be you talked about our flagman not having anything going on yet, but at some point maybe he will have a job to do, and who knows, maybe it'll be the white flag, maybe it'll be the checkered flag, but there's other ones out there, but we'll see. But now we're going to see Christian Peterson's going to have an opportunity to maybe pass teammate Jared Duda. This is kind of the first time we've seen those two be close enough here on one of these runs to battle it out, so it'll be an interesting battle. And then Madalinas is slowly reeling these guys in. Like I said, I'd love to see him maybe try something a little different here. I see Nathan jump maybe. I mean, he's been on the call here. I was wondering if maybe he's going to hit pit road. Not yet, but I'm thinking he's going to be hitting pit road here soon.
Kemp, who's off strategy after getting hit with a black flag speeding penalty. He's on pit road, but we are in the window from what you said of being able to make it the rest of the way. How soon is too soon to jump onto pit road, or would now be a viable time to come to pit road, gain that track position, or would that be too many laps to try and have to play defense?
It's not a race-winning move, I think, if this race stays green, because ultimately on the back end of the run you're probably going to get beat. But I think it is an opportunity to throw a Hail Mary, and if you get all the way through green flag pit stops and a caution comes out once we're wrapped up through the pit stops, that's going to give you the opportunity to come down and maybe grab another set of tires and get some track position that way. So I don't, like I said, I think if you're Nathan Jump here in a little bit, you're going to hit pit road and try that Hail Mary, try to grab the lead again, and who knows, maybe somebody else in this top 5 will do the same.
It's been a solid night for Brett Malone, but it looks like his good finish may come to an end as he was just hit with a speeding penalty. He'll have to come back around. Looks like it was a speeding penalty exiting pit road, so tough break there for the driver, the 29. Nathan Jump has made the jump onto pit road. We saw him do it for the second cycle of pit stops. He's going to do it here for the last one.
I'm going to hit pit road and grab those fresh tires. We'll see if he can get back out to the lead at some point. And it's just a matter of where you blend, and if you get some free track here and opportunity to use those tires and just start building what will be the lead once everybody else pits.
Peterson trying to find some clean air as he's trying to reel in his teammate for the second position. Hunter Madalina starting to close in on this as well. And Jared Duda coming to pit road. His teammate did not follow him. It's the first time we haven't seen the 53 and the 71 pit together. They split it.
Yeah, for the first time getting separated. We'll see how that goes.
This is the money stop. You cannot afford a speeding penalty, a lockup on pit road entry, because more than likely it's going to cost you a chance at not only winning the race, but possibly a good finish in tonight's finale. Matthew Weeks continues to show the way. How much longer does he go? Probably we'd see him pit maybe the next 3 to 5 laps here. We've seen him go a little bit longer than most others. Madalinas has gone further than that. Maybe pit right on that lap 120 mark. We'll see here as he continues to enjoy that clean air.
I think you go as far as you can. Make sure everybody else that is second, third here with Peterson, Madalinas, hopefully they hit pit road here soon, and then you can make that stop. I think you want to just make sure that you don't get stuck on pit road with somebody else, especially one of these contenders in the top 5. staying out and catching the caution at the right time. Seth, I'm going to have to make a quick pit stop. I have a battery on my headset, so I'm going to be away for like 10 seconds, but I'll throw it back over to you here as, yeah, I'm going to have to make a pit stop, I guess.
Hey, not a problem, as Elliot Henderson is on pit road here. Came down pit road from, well, he was around the 6th position, inherited up as high as 4th, but now gives up that spot to come down to the attention of his crew for the final time tonight. Spencer Owens is also on pit lane in the 23. Matthew Weeks, Christian Peterson, Hunter Madalena, Cy Jackson, Nicholas Carreso, our top 5. We're still waiting for them. Looks like it's our top 7 with Cooper and Mons, the last drivers we are waiting to complete this cycle of pit stops, which should see us clear to the finish of this race. Rod Fastnow on pit road for the final time tonight. Lap 120 on the board. Let's see if Matthew Weeks makes the dive to pit lane this time by, or does he go a little bit further? And he's going to come onto pit road. Wants to make sure he gets that thing woed down. Christian Peterson right behind him. Well, those trucks looking very floaty as they're trying to keep it pointed straight under braking, but looks like good execution by both the top 2. And now Matthew Weeks, hoping that his crew gives him a lightning fast pit stop here to cycle him back out to the race lead. Hunter Madalenas still out on the racetrack, along with another 3 drivers in Jackson, Caressel, and Cooper. We'll probably see him on pit road here momentarily as Weeks to make that Weeks down and away. Looks like they nailed the pit stop. No black flag for the 56. He is clear and good to go. We'll see where he cycles around to. There is Hunter Madalenas, going to pull up alongside of him here down the back straightaway. Going to put him a lap down momentarily, but then those fresh tires surge right on past. And Matthew Weeks will put himself back on the tail end of the lead lap. With that pass on the 7, how much longer does Hunter Madalenas wait?
Just wondering if this is, we've seen Madalenas be pretty good on fuel mileage. I'm not saying there's no way he can make it to the end, but the idea of just maybe running as long as possible here. If you get a caution before you hit pit road, then potentially you could put some pressure on these drivers that already pitted on if they need to come back down. Or if you hit pit road here in a couple laps and then the caution comes out, maybe you then can, cycle up to the lead by staying out because you don't have a lot of laps on your tires. I think this is just the last Hail Mary from Hunter Madalenas and putting as much pressure as he can on Weeks. It's maybe not enough. I'd love to look at those points right now. It's probably about as close as Madalenas has been, but maybe not enough yet.
There you see it, -5, and he still has to make a pit stop. Now, obviously, it looks like he's going to try and run it as far as the fuel will allow him. Let's speculate he gets the caution at just the right time. Would these be enough laps on the tires that when he comes to pit road, we would see the 56, who is on the tail end of the lead lap, also come to pit road and put on another set?
You almost have to consider it if you're Madalenas, if that does happen. But you also maybe just want to put on tires and just understand that that's your best opportunity to try to win the race, and that because that's going to give you your opportunity. I was going to say, if he runs one more lap, it'd be the farthest he's gone all night. He's going to hit the pit road about the same as he's done on some of those longer runs, 41, 42 laps. But last pit stop for Madalenas here, I guess, unless we get a caution. We'll see if navigate pit road and get back out there and see if his prayers are answered with the caution at some point in this last 24 laps.
Saw Nicholas Carreso right there on pit road. He had to come back down to serve a black flag for speeding on the previous pit stop. Tough break for him. He was up in the top 10 all night long. Very fast truck. As the pit stop is completed for Madalenas, he is down and away, and now the question is, Where does he cycle around to? How many laps does he have to work with? The problem for him is he's going to come out still behind Matthew Weeks. It looks like he'll cycle into the 3rd spot. And look who went to the point. Jared Duda. We saw him come to pit road a little bit earlier than his teammate Peterson. That might have been his thought process of, I got to do something a little bit different, get myself ahead of that 56 and see if I can manage the gap in these final 20 laps.
Yeah, Madelinas almost 3/4 of a lap behind our leader, Jared Duda. So long ways back, but clear track right now. Going to be able to really use up those tires these last handful, last 25 laps. It's the only thing that I don't like about that is it's a little different than what you've been doing. Obviously the other last couple runs you've been running, maybe conserving a little bit just because there's a chance you'd have to run the whole way. Now you're going to use it all up here in these last 20-some laps with a little different strategy, but ultimately if you're Madelinas, you got to try it. Here Matthew Weeks going to get back to kind of doing his thing and see if he can get to Duda. If he 4 seconds in 20-some laps, it might be a little tough to get there. Doesn't have to as far as championship-wise, but we'll see if he can cap off the night with both championship and the win.
But I'll tell you something that's going to be interesting here. We've seen at the tail end, about maybe the halfway point of each of these last 2 runs, is 3 wide here down the back straightaway, taking advantage of the older tires of Nathan Jumper, Brittle, and Caressel. But we ended up seeing Matthew Weeks be able to reel in Jared Duda and take the lead away from him. The last time that they battled, there was a major block down the back straightaway. If it gets to a point here in the closing stages where Weeks is able to reel Duda back in again, it's big picture racing, right? If you're Jared Duda, you know the situation of the 56 trying to win the championship. How much defense do you play? And if you're Matthew Weeks, realizing one wrong move, he's already made contact with somebody tonight and was able to save it, but one wrong move and you could maybe throw this championship away. How does that play into the mentality of both these drivers here in the closing stages?
And I hope in, just for the importance of what this means for winning the championship. Hopefully, both of them are wise about it. I think if you're Weeks, if you get a clean opportunity to make the pass, go for it. But if not, just settle in and maybe try to secure this championship. If you're Duda, hopefully, if you know that you don't have anything for Weeks, you don't hold them up too much. But we'll see. I think now Weeks has done a good job getting through some of this traffic here. He sees Duda ahead. I think he's going to get there at some point in this run. We'll see what happens when it does. But now it's just a matter of navigating this one more lap truck here in the mix, and then just a matter of if we get that yellow.
Over 130 laps under green here tonight. It has been an endurance race in every sense of the word, as drivers have had to battle the track. They've had to battle pit road. A few have had to battle the officials on pit road as they've been hit with penalties. And currently, with less than 20 laps to go, we are sitting with 20 drivers still running, but only 7 of them on the lead lap. The 7 that are on the lead lap have been the ones that have been able to execute here tonight to stay on the same lap as the leader, Jared Duda. Looks like Lewis Woodall a few laps ago, he retired out of the race along with Jeremy Pienta. As Matthew Weeks looking ahead, that truck right in front of him is the race leader, Jared Duda. Less than a truck length between the two of them off of turn 2.
The inside here, Dude's going to give him room. See going down in the 3. He's checked up there, the 53. Not sure what happened there. He, ultimately got on the brakes pretty heavy early on there. I'm not sure what happened, but scary moment there. But Weeks gets through. Bonds is up there trying to get back on the lead lap. Comes Brittle now passing underneath Duda, who's ultimately, just had something happen there.
Lost a ton of ground. He had the lap car of Justin Mons get around him. Hunter Brittle has passed him as well. And that puts a major amount of distance now, not only between Matthew Weeks and Jared Duda, but that's going to allow Christian Peterson to maybe reel in his teammate here and make it a battle for second place. Look at the traffic, though. that Matthew Weeks is having to deal with, as he's currently got the 41 of Justin Mons behind him. He's the outside of the 29 of Brett Malone, and there's quite a number of trucks still up ahead here that Matthew Weeks is going to have to deal with. And we've seen so many times in races, drivers that are running up at the front in the top 5 and the top 10 getting caught up in messes that aren't of their own making. How nerve-wracking have these final 15 laps got to be for the 56 every time he comes up on a lap truck?
Yeah, now you're going to have a little bit of a difference between, here we see Brittle going to look to the inside of Mons here. These lappers racing each other, obviously still for position, but if you're Brittle here, you're going to have a little fresher tires than Weeks, so you potentially could put a little pressure, from his mirror. And then Weeks, looking ahead's got the 40 truck of Nicholas Kressel, who has a little bit fresher tires than him, but maybe ultimately going to catch him maybe later on in this run. But if you're Weeks, just got to be aware of your surroundings, get through these last 12 laps. But an interesting part of this race to just have to navigate around these guys and make sure you don't have any mistakes.
Teammate's going to battle for second as Peterson draws a bead on Jared Duda down the back straightaway. Remember, these two came to pit road on separate laps on this final cycle of pit stops. There's about 5 lap fresher tires underneath the 71 as opposed to the 53. They'll be side by side across the line there. Advantage should go to Peterson here into 1 and 2 as he'll get that rotation through the center, able to punch the throttle, and he will move into the runner-up spots. And now the question is for Christian Peterson, does he have enough time, does he have enough speed to maybe reel in Matthew Weeks to get his series-leading 6th win on the season, as Weeks is looking to tie Peterson for 5.
A bit of a gap. Obviously, they hit pit road at the same time, so similar tires here. Coming next time by to 10 to go. Weeks out front here, got no pressure. You just wonder, think about what this race is going to be like. You wonder with Matthew Weeks, you probably thinking, okay, I'm starting up in the front row, going to have to battle the teammates of Duda and Peterson tonight. How often am I going to have to battle them? And then when you get to the end here in these last 10 laps, you got it all done. You basically checked off all the things that maybe you were thinking about. Now it's just a matter of counting down those long final couple 10 laps here. And if you're Hunter Madalinas, they're going by way too fast, hoping that there's some moment of something that gives you even a chance yet. A strong run to come all the way back from 4th here after running long. I think he still has a chance. Maybe they get to 3rd if Duda continues to back up, but a lot of ground to make up about full straightaway back from our leader Weeks.
Well, last week at Iowa, Matthew Weeks had to hold off a hard-charging Hunter Madalinas, who was bearing down his back bumper for the better portion of the latter half of that race at Iowa. He was able to do so to pick up his 4th win of the season. Tonight currently holds over 8 seconds between himself and the 7 as he shows the way. Madalinas currently back in the 4th position with less than 10 to go. Let's give a final sponsor here to our sponsor of this race, this Championship 225 powered by Roundabout Gaming. And on November 21st, join Roundabout Gaming crew for a 24-hour marathon of gaming, all to benefit children. It's the 2025 24 hours of games, all to benefit Extra Life. You can watch and make a donation on twitch.tv/roundaboutpro or youtube.com/@RA_pro gaming. 100% of all donations go straight to Extra Life. Join Roundabout Gaming as they play games to heal kids. The laps continue to tick away for Matthew Weeks. 7 laps to go here at Texas. What are the range of emotions going on inside the cockpit of that 56 right now?
I said it's a long laps as you make this way around to get this done. You brought up a minute ago about last week, and I think that was a huge turning point in this battle. Even though it was only the second to last race through about an 8-race chase playoff format, I think that we all kind of thought that last week Madalinas was going to have a great opportunity to maybe gain some points on Matthew Weeks, and Matthew Weeks did a great job, like you said, of holding off Madalinas to grab that win. And I give credit to Weeks for basically saying in his post race that I still understand that Hunter Madalinas, he's the guy to beat. He could go in and win the race next week, and that was his thought, is I got to go in and act like he's going to win the race because he can, and ultimately that job that he did last week of holding off Madalinas, the guy that's been so tough to beat for the last year or so, even all of last season and past seasons in this league, basically to hold him off and get that win last week was probably the moment that gave him the confidence ultimately to come here and do the same again tonight and ultimately grab the lead towards the middle part of this race and really just lose it on tire strategy and get it back every time.
You kind of figured it was really going to be between these two coming into tonight in terms of the 1.5 miles run this season. Matthew Weeks went to victory lane at 3 of them. Madalinas went to victory lane at 2 of them. Weeks looking for another D-shaped 1.5 mile victory as he won at the current version of the Texas Motor Speedway and the legacy version of Atlanta, and this time by 3 laps to go, 4.5 miles away from not only his series season tying 5th win, but also a championship here in the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series.
Just looking back through our field, Christian Peterson's able to get around Duda a handful of laps ago. I think Duda's going to be able to still get a third out of this if it wraps up here under green. Nathan Jump, we talked about his running a little bit, hitting pit road a little bit earlier, still has a chance to get a top 5 here. Henderson trying to chase him down in 6. Shout out to Justin Mons, Kyle Cooper, some of these drivers that maybe solid top 10s tonight. James Shiflett going to be 11th. I think that's going to get him into the top 20 in points in the end of the season. Obviously a great run tonight, running 11th, and going to grab a top 20 in points. But Matthew Weeks here coming down, come off for 4 and look for that white flag.
The flag he's been looking for since they took the green flag to start this thing. Race can now no longer end with a green-white checkered. He's got the white flag in hand and one more lap around the Texas Motor Speedway to claim the victory and the championship all in one tidy package. He's had an incredible season. He got his first career win, followed it up with 3 more trips to victory lane. How about a 4th? The Season 11 Great Lakes Racing Truck Series champion is Matthew Weeks. He gets it done here tonight in the Lone Star State.
What a great season for Matthew Weeks to cap off and grab this championship. Nice job by all of our playoff contenders to make this fascinating playoffs to go through. And I think every week we thought of different drivers of potentially who could go up here and grab this title. Some of our favorites, some of potential long shots in there, but Matthew Weeks the one to get it done. And a great battle is here comes Madalinas, gonna give him a congratulatory bump. A great job by Madalinas also to put the pressure on here. Ultimately, probably disappointed in the night tonight, but to keep this a battle all the way down to this final race was really fun to watch. Exciting. I was so looking forward to seeing how this would end up tonight, and it's awesome to see what happened. Matthew Weeks going to grab his title.
Pretty good at doing burnouts here. I'll tell you what, his 5th time that he gets to burn it down here this season. 1 season ago, 0 trips to victory lane, but finished 5th in the standings. He translates that 5th to 5 victories here in season 11 and locks up the championship. Looks like the team championship is going to go to Manji Motorsports as 2 teammates will finish 2nd and 3rd, and Christian Peterson and Jared Duda. And as you mentioned, Josh Robin getting the Rookie of the Year title here in Season 11. As Matthew Weeks parks that number 56 Silverado on the front straightaway. We could call it the Texas Sweep, as he is 2 for 2 at this venue, both the current and the legacy version here in Season 11. And the celebration begins for Matthew Weeks as he wins here tonight, not only the race, but the championship title as well.
I'm thinking maybe we make Mr. Weeks wait for us, and we
think so.
chat with our second and third place. Yeah, let's maybe bring in Christian Peterson, and we can chat with him first.
Hey, Christian, as the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth, you got a copy?
Yeah, how you doing, Seth?
A great race for you here tonight. Great season overall. 5 trips to victory lane. Dominant in majority of the races you participated in. And in the conversation here tonight, it just kind of looked like maybe the timing of the pit stops was the difference maker into who was going to have that track position at certain points in this race.
Yeah, definitely. The track position was it was key at the beginning of a run. You know, you could race people hard or whatnot. But yeah, it was tough. I was struggling on old tires, Weeks and Madalinas. They were pretty good. There were a couple other guys that were catching us. Duda was honestly a lot better than I was on old tires too. I just couldn't. I don't know. No matter what I did to try to save him, it just couldn't get him under me after like lap 25, 30. So that end of that run there, or the end of the race where we had a shorter run, definitely helped. But didn't have anything for Weeks for sure.
Longest race of the season here in the finale, and we went green from start to finish. How difficult was it to make absolutely certain that everything was executed perfectly? And was there maybe even a point in this race where fatigue was starting to set in?
Yeah, once we got through the first pit stop, I was kind of settled in. I kind of got all my sweating done, and it was just kind of like cruise from there. I mean, I tried a few different things throughout the second and third run to try to keep my tires on me, but it just didn't seem to work. And at that point, I was just trying to race Weeks and hold him off for Duda once we were pitting. But yeah, he definitely, we tried to jump him early on that last run, and it just didn't work out. I ended up pitting with Weeks there. And wasn't able to race them at all once we got back out of the pits. But yeah, fatigue was definitely a little bit. I mean, caution would have been nice, but it's also nice to have a green flag race. It's fun.
Well, Christian, as we said, an incredible season for you. Started on the pole 4 times this season, ended up in victory lane in 5 of the races, in the playoffs as well, and end out the season strong on the podium. Second place here tonight at the Texas Motor Speedway. Congratulations on a great season overall, and before we let you go, the floor is now open to you for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, just everybody at Monty Motorsports, Jared, Tony, Brett. I know he's not technically on our team, but he joined like halfway through, and he's been hanging out, and all of the guys who spot for us and all that. We have a lot of fun, so thanks to those guys. As always, you guys at Split Second for putting on the broadcast, and everybody at GLR that gets this league up and running every season.
Christian Peterson brings it home second place here tonight in the finale at the Texas Motor Speedway. Again, congratulations on a great season, and best of luck to you in Season 12 as you look to continue this consistency and run for the title once again.
Thank you.
And let's see if we can get a hold of his teammate. I believe Ross has got a hold of Jared.
Jared, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
So, started up front tonight and ultimately led early, and then ultimately led a handful of laps almost in each of the runs, especially the last one there coming down pit road a little early just to grab that lead back again, but needed maybe a little bit more to contend with Weeks in the end. What were you looking for to ultimately have a little bit more pace throughout the second half of that race?
Yeah, I mean, it all came down to that first run, led all 40 laps, and then Weeks was able to go a little bit longer on fuel, and that's kind of where the race kind of ended. We were playing catch up the whole time that he was able to run that last stint a couple laps longer. He was running on fresher tires the whole race pretty much. Yeah, he had to play a little bit of catch up, but tires were so big here. I think we were like 2 seconds off the pace at the end of the run. It was crazy how much drag we had. So yeah, that was kind of the mentality there, just trying to get out in front and stretch that gap as much as possible after starting having to play from behind, and it really didn't pay out. That last stop had to split something in half, had to try something. Otherwise, we weren't going to be able to beat them straight up with that tire wear. So tried something to split that last stage directly in half, and yeah, it just didn't work out. He had too big of a gap, and he was good in the long run. So congrats to him. He definitely had a good race. I definitely thought we were a first or second place truck. finish third, still not a big deal. Top three is always good, especially second and third with Maji Motorsports. So can't complain.
So this season we've seen you, maybe not in all the races, didn't make the playoffs because of that, but ultimately when you are racing, 8 top fives, 2 wins, you're obviously a contender in almost every race you were in. What's it like to race with this group and race with these drivers, and ultimately then the ability to race for wins, but also race around these guys that were contending in the playoffs the second half of the season? What's that dynamic like, and how were you able to navigate it?
Yeah, I mean, it goes with two things. I had a terrible beginning of the season, whether that was missing races or just wrecking in races. Couldn't finish a race, saved my life, and then obviously turning around the second half of the season, I felt like we would have had a good shot. But then as of racing around these guys, like there's a lot of talent here. As you can see, there's the top 4 or 5 cars that are pretty much contending for wins every week. And there's obviously another 8, 10 cars that can win every week as well. So it's fun racing, much competition. Always having to come out here and be perfect to win races makes coming out on Tuesday nights fun. But racing around these guys when they're in the playoffs, it's easier for me. I'm not stressed out about points or anything. I'm just out here trying to win races. So they're thinking a little bit more big picture, and I'm thinking short picture. So it takes a little bit of the mental ease off me a little bit.
Well, we'll give you this opportunity, another top 3 tonight, to shout out anyone you want, using this time for some thank yous.
Yeah, no, first off, thanks the guys at Maji Motorsports. I think we came up a little bit on team points. It would have been interesting if we didn't get lane change penalty -5 points for me and Christian at Chicagoland. Otherwise, I think we probably would have ended up tied. It would have been a tiebreaker, and I think we had the most wins as Maji Motorsports versus the other guys. So it would have been nice if the penalty points didn't degrade us there. But shout out to my team. We had a great season. That 71 truck is fast. It sucks that he had to miss a race in the playoffs, and also had one bad race. I think he would have been a favorite to win the championship, but we'll come back next season and try to have multiple drivers running for a championship as well. So shout out to the team. Shout out to the guys at Maji Motorsports, Due to Racing, putting together a fast truck. Like you said, I think I finished off the season. We were dialed in, winning races and finishing in top 3, top 5. So can't complain about that. We had the speed. And shout out to just the crew. Tony has been spotting for me the last few races, so it's been really good to have him up in the eyes in the booth and helping me out with strategy and calling things out as well for me. So shout out to him. Shout out to the guys at GLR, the admin team, for putting this on. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work, so shout out to them. It's been a long season. I'm sure they're ready to have a little bit of fun here in the Winter Series and not have such a serious high-strung league going on as well. Shout out to you guys at Split Second. You guys do a great job in the broadcast. This one might not be as fun to watch back just because it was green the whole way. It's spaced out, but I'll still go watching back because you guys do a great job. And then shout out to RoundAboutGaming. I always forget to shout out the sponsor of the race, so shout out to them for sponsoring the race. We like to support, and just shout out to them. It's not easy to be in that position to sponsor a race, and it's not guaranteed every race, so shout out to them. And then the viewers as well, dad, mom, girlfriend, Chris, Andrea. I know they're watching. They like watching these races, so shout out to them. Hopefully they enjoyed a good season, and we'll come back next year and possibly a couple races in the Winter Series.
Well, we appreciate you chatting with us tonight, and thanks for all the races and putting on the show that you did so far throughout this entire season, and I hope to see you next season as well.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's my pleasure.
Jared Duda out of Maji Motorsports, and we've got the confirmation that the team championship is going to go to Maji Motorsports. 7 points was the difference between them and Dark Horse Motorsports. But Dark Horse Motorsports, they will take the Drivers' Championship, as we're now ready to dial up not only tonight's race winner, but the Season 11 champion of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series, Matthew Weeks. Matthew, it's the guys up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, first off, have you had it sink in yet that you were able to not only win here tonight, 5 wins on the season, but you are now the champion of the series? Last season, you were 5th, but you had a 0 in the win column. Completely different season here for the 56.
Yeah, that first season was the first time I raced the truck in probably over a year. You know, I was never a big fan of the truck. I was always racing the Cup car and the Xfinity car. That's mainly all I did. And then Chris Heller brought me into this league last season. He offered, because we run in a different league together. He wanted me to drive one of his trucks, and I told him, I was like, I don't race it. I'm not very good with it, but I'll do it for you. You know, since we've raced clean in that league before, we had good battles, so I did it, and I had a lot of fun last season. We didn't get the win. I felt like we could have won a couple of races, but we had some things pop up, and then we had a winter series with the Xfinity car, and I got hooked. That's my favorite car, and I got hooked. And then we come out this season. Finally, it took us, I think, the first couple of races. We were finishing good, but it took us a couple of races to really get the feel totally for the truck. And once we got the tires figured out and everything, it was a good season, and we just went on a roll right there.
When we talked to you at the conclusion of the race prior to Iowa at Chicagoland, you were a little iffy going into that short track. We saw you be able to hold off Hunter Madalinas to pick up the victory, double your points over him coming into tonight, a track that you had a lot of confidence at. It looked like here this evening you were full court press, full on offense. We saw you be able to save the tires, save the fuel to be able to get up there the latter portions of these runs, and once you got in that clean air, you never looked back. I was talking with Ross about this. It seemed like you kind of had a must-win mentality coming in as the points leader. Is that an accurate read?
When I come to this track, like this version of Texas, my mindset is to win the race. No matter what car, what series, I just come to this track feeling like I can win no matter what. So that was my mindset. And then I knew Hunter qualified good, so my whole thing was just as long as I stay in front of him, I don't have to worry about, something happening and a caution come out behind him, then I'm stuck on a bad restart. It's just all about trying to stay in front of him. And then I knew in practice about how everyone was driving and the tires would come into play, so I knew I would have the advantage on a lot of people there in the long run too. So really, I just was all about trying to stay in front of Hunter and manage tires. That was the main goal, and pick a certain pace and stick to it the entire time.
I go back to May of this year, second race of the season. Obviously, it's been a long, grueling grind for you and the other drivers here. A lot of tough racetracks, but it was another D-shaped oval, a legacy version of Atlanta. You parked your truck in Victory Lane for the first time in your career in this series. Did you think back then that we'd be at this point, 5 victories on the season and a championship?
I didn't think I would have 5 wins. I thought I would probably have like 2 or 3, but I knew looking at the schedule, like going in, like I was like, as long as I'm close enough to the point leader coming into this race, I'm going to win the championship. I just knew just how confident I am in my speed here. And then, so I felt good. And then, like I said, the more of the season went, and as I figured the truck out more and more, it just got better and better. And I built my confidence even more with how this truck drives. And I had fun, and I actually think I swept Texas. I think we run the newer version of Texas too, so that's cool. I swept Texas this season. That's awesome.
You did indeed sweep here in the Lone Star State. A lot of times I try and talk about a driver's mentality lap to lap, race to race. How about we talk about season to season? We mentioned you were consistent back in season 10. You carry that over here into season 11 to win the championship. So now in the early stages of the off season, looking ahead to season 12, what does this do in terms of confidence? What does this do in terms of motivation? Where are you mentally now looking ahead as you look to defend this title?
I feel good. I mean, I can't say it's a massive confidence boost because I've done this in my main league. I won 2 cup championship with some guys that are top-notch talents. Like these guys could be, Coke drivers, Coke Series drivers on this sim. And so like this and running a new season in a different league and win a championship there, it kind of builds some, I guess, let people know that you're here to really race and contend every single week. And I'm here to do that. And as long as people know I'm going to race clean and I'm going to show up and race for wins and we're going to have a good time, that's all that matters, dude. I mean, the championships, it's cool to win a championship. It's cool to win races. But all in all, I'm just here to have everyone know that I race everyone with respect. And that's the main goal.
Well, what an incredible season for you, Matthew. Your 5th trip to victory lane here tonight, and it clinches you the championship here in the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series. I know you got a lot of celebrating here in the future, and we'll let you get to it here in a moment, but first we're going to give you the opportunity for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Shout out to the Dark Horse guys, dude. I wasn't going to drive for a team, and someone's, Elliot said message him, and I messaged him, and they got me on the team, and we come out swinging this season. Really good. I had fun. I don't know if I'm going to race for them next season. I think my buddy Kurt, he joined late in the season, and my buddy Justin, I'm trying to convince him to run full time next season too. I think we're going to bring my main team that I run in my other leagues, Pro Edge Racing. I think we're going to bring him, like that team, all together and be a powerhouse, or try to be a powerhouse in here and race everybody that way. We're not 100% sure yet, but I know I'm coming back. I enjoy this league. Everyone that's in here, they're always a blast to race with. I'm glad Chris Heller and those guys brought me in. I know some guys didn't like those guys, and I think the first season people raced me the wrong way because I was associated with that team. But hopefully that's kind of rubbed off since they've been gone and people know I'm here. I'll race everyone straight up. So, and shout out to all the drivers all season long. And tonight, green flag races. Not a lot of leagues can do a whole entire race green flag. So that was great to have this tonight. My buddy Justin Vandermeer at JV Designs, this beautiful paint scheme. Hopefully I can get the number 11 on next season. I'm hoping, but it's cool to win with my buddy Tate's number 56. Shout out to him as well. All the sponsors that's part of the league, everyone that runs the league, like, this is a great league. So shout out to all those guys, and hope everyone watches it. I can't wait to go back and watch this race.
Well, not only does Matthew Weeks close out the season with a checkered flag, he gets to hoist the trophy here tonight as well, as he is the Season 11 Great Lakes Racing Truck Series champion. Congratulations on an incredible season overall. Go and enjoy this, enjoy the off-season, and go right back to it as we kick off Season 12.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm going to try to enjoy the off-season. I got to lock in because my Cup playoffs start tomorrow, so we're back on the grind again.
Well, there you go. That's Matthew Weeks, your winner here tonight in the Championship 225, powered by Roundabout Gaming. And we'd be remiss if we didn't also dial up the driver that made it a heck of a battle down the home stretch of these playoffs. Ross, I think you've got a hold of the outgoing champion, Hunter Madalinas.
Yeah, Hunter, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
So, we don't want to bring you in here and just talk about all the bad, but we're going to get it out of the way. Unfortunately, coming home just a little bit short. What else did you need tonight to maybe contend with Weeks and even just the front runners there? We ultimately came home 4th, but maybe just missing a little bit tonight?
Yeah, nothing tonight. I kind of took tonight easy. I wasn't, pushing it as much as I could. I knew the only chance I was going to have at the championship was if Weeks got into an accident, so I had to spend most of that race, I kind of just chilled out, running top 5, kind of padding the stat book for the season. Not much we could have done tonight, just need some better runs in the previous races. Dago, we needed to go better, and then we got caught up. Louis bounced off the wall at Chicago a couple weeks ago, and we lost a crap ton of positions from that too, so, just needed a couple better races earlier in the year, and going into this race there was really no chance of the championship besides a wreck, and I wasn't really rooting on that. I was just kind of hoping to end the season with a good finish.
Looking at your stats for this season, we'll talk about the good part. Ultimately, you said it, the start of the season kind of slow, coming off of the defending title. You had some incidents early. You grabbed a win in Charlotte, but then had a couple of bad finishes. Then the final 12 weeks, I was just looking at this. Basically, top 10 in every single race. The only race you didn't finish top 10 was the 12th at Chicago. That's a heck of a run. It had been fun throughout this long season to have basically your name just slowly move up, then get to the playoffs, slowly continue to move up, and just watch yourself just climb back up through the standings throughout the year.
Yeah, just having that really good momentum before we made it to the playoffs was a big thing. It just let me, go into the playoffs with a lot of confidence that I could get it done for the second year in a row. But it was going to be difficult. It all kind of starts once the playoff starts. We had we did have some unfortunate stuff happen to us earlier in the year. You know, we had a lot of computer issues. I think I lagged out of 2 races earlier in the year, got wrecked out of a couple. So, you know, just next year, you know, whenever we race, just gotta plan on, you know, just minimizing those runs that we have. But, you know, yeah, overall it was a great end of the year. I'm pretty proud of it. You know, still racking up 2 more wins to end the year. Yeah, it was just great end of the season, and looking forward to the next one.
That's what I'm going to talk about next. Is next one. You're, looking at next season and potentially just this off season. What's on the docket for you, and looking forward to next season. What's the goal?
Just looking forward to run a couple of these Winter Series races. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be out for a little while from sim racing. Having a medical thing that's gonna be taking me out of racing for about 2 months or so. But yeah, just looking forward to just relax on this off season. I think we got the showdown early part of next year, and then we'll be back for the trucks again late next year. But yeah, just taking it easy on this off season, and just come back and hopefully we can return our crown.
Sounds good. We'll give you one more chance to give any shout outs or thank yous to wrap up the season.
Yeah, just congrats on Weeks for the championship. He drove his butt off all season long. Thanks for Eric. Let me come back over to Spectrum this year after being on E95 for the longest time, but really appreciate his help over the whole season. It's good to be back to the pretty much main team that I started my career in Great Lakes at. Yeah, thanks to all my teammates. They did an awesome job all year. Helping. Elliot did an awesome job, finished third in the points. So yeah, just big shout out to them. Shout out to y'all. Y'all did another great year broadcasting. So have just always loved watching them again. Just shout out to everyone in Great Lakes for another great season.
We wish you a smooth and an easy off season with everything you got going on, and we look forward to seeing you back next season, and hopefully get to chat with you some more in season 12.
Hopefully so. Thanks, guys.
Jair Madalena's going to come up 21 points shy of back-to-back championships, but an incredible season for him as well, including 4 trips to victory lane. What an incredible season it was, and a lot of stories. This is one of the things I love about the end of the season. Not only do we get to have all the questions answered of who's going to win the championship, but there are so many storylines with what we've seen the latter half of the season that build up for the new season of, who could be the next one that we see get their first victory. We saw Matthew Weeks get his first career win earlier on this season, and we saw the run he was able to go on. The question is, who is next? And we take a look here at the final championship standings here for season 11. I mean, what more can we say about Matthew Weeks? We've already talked about the stats for him coming into tonight. He's got now 5 victories there, including this evening's finale. Madalena's there in second. Elliot Henderson is ultimately going to come away with third place, as a couple of drivers he was behind in the stands, including Jackson Sims, had some issues, so he will finish the podium. Sims, though, we talked about the consistent season that he had, finishing in 4th. And Shade Neiswanger, he came back for a top 10 finish here tonight after he had an issue on pit road, so that's going to keep him top 5 in the final standings results.
Yeah, an impressive drive back ultimately to grab that 5th place finish. I think Christian Peterson 6th in points. He talked, or the teammates kind of talked about maybe just feeling a little bit of a bummer of just knowing that there was maybe a chance for Peterson to contend for this title if some things worked out a little differently throughout the playoffs, and some not in his control, some not. But Spencer Owens, our opener winner, ultimately consistent pretty much throughout the entire season, but comes home 7th in the playoffs. Matt Durr, Ashton Lawson, and Jared Darling are bottom 3 of these. All did a great job getting into the playoffs, but just didn't have the playoffs, and maybe even missed a couple races in there. But bringing it home 8th, 9th, and 10th for our 10 chasers.
And then you've got the drivers that are going to finish just outside of the playoff standings, and these could be some of those drivers that enter into that conversation of who's next. Brent Kincott just barely missed out on a playoff position in the regular season finale, ultimately finishes 11th. Caressel came on strong the close of the season for 12th. Jared Duda, 2 victories during the course of the season. If this guy's able to run full time and make the playoffs next season, look out as he finishes 13th overall. Hunter Brittle and Eric Kemp going to be the top 15.
Yeah, Michael Senzi brings it home in 16th. We talked about Josh Robin and the Rookie of the Year honors. I think really a great job. 6 top 10s this season. Comes home in 17th. James Shiflett moved all the way up. I talked about it. He got a 11th place finish tonight. Moved all the way up into the top 20, all the way up to 18th. Robin Durr in 19th. Rod Fausnow also able to crack the top 20 tonight after tonight's race, moving up 2 spots.
Nathan Jump's also going to move up in the standings after tonight, moved up +4 as he will finish 21st in the final season standings. Zachary Henry right behind him in 22nd. Gavin Fitzgerald, we saw him have some really good performances the close of the season, as he'll be 23rd with Aiden DuPont in 24th. And Will Barbichelata several races was in the conversation for a victory as well. He'll ultimately finish out the season in 25th.
13 starts for Cy Jackson. I feel like almost every start we talked about him at least once doing something that we're like, hey, look at Cy Jackson sliding up here, and he had that chance I think at Talladega to maybe even steal the win there, and came home a little bit short, but going to be 26th in points in the end. Tony Manji in 27th. Lewis Woodall, we saw him tonight have his try some Hail Marys to maybe score a last second top 10, but not able to get it done. Comes home 28th in the final points. Justin Mons in 29th, and Travis Hanby in 30th.
Talk about Cy Jackson and us kind of pointing him out every week. I think the same can be said for Brett Malone, as he'll finish 31st. He ended up only making a total of 18 starts this season, so if he goes full-time, we could definitely see that consistency, have him in the conversation for a playoff spot next season. Daniel Nanny, he went 4 for 5 in finding victory lane in his limited starts. That put him 2nd overall, tied for 2nd on most wins on the season. That part-time schedule has him 32nd ultimately in the final results. Jeremy Pienta, tough break to close out the season for him here tonight at DNF, but he's 33rd. Trent Curtis, who introduced us to the beauties of the apron at New Hampshire, he's going to finish in 34th. And Kurt Gibson, who we heard there with Matthew Weeks, maybe running full-time in maybe a new organization next season here in the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series, 35th on a part-time schedule.
Just thinking, Daniel Nanny, where were you during Daniel Nanny season? 4 out of 5. that was impressive, and ultimately he told us that I'm here for just a short while. He knew what this league was and raced in it for a long time back years ago to show up and dominate some of those races. It was kind of fun to watch, but yeah, I think some of his competitors maybe didn't appreciate the butt kicking, but ultimately fun to watch. So 36, Trey Bartow, Kyle Cooper, we saw him tonight, gonna end up 37th. Evan Snyder, Angel Delgado, and Blair Neobone rounds out the top 40. I'm just disappointed we didn't get to all the way back to 48th, because that would be yours truly, Ross Brockman, 48th in points. There we go. Give me a shout out.
We had 51 drivers take the green flag at one point or another during the course of this season, and it'll be interesting to see if we see some of these names that finish down here outside of the top 30, top 40, if we see them make an emergence maybe full-time next season. Take a look at the final finishing results here tonight as well. One handy package, a victory and a championship for Matthew Weeks. He was up front all night long after starting on the front row. I think outside of the cycle of pit stops, he ran no worse than 4th position. Christian Peterson, he started 4th and brings it home P2. Jared Duda, he tried a Hail Mary strategy there to beat the 56 after he started on the pole and led the opening 40 laps, but he'll ultimately bring it home in 3rd. I did make an error. I said that Manji Motorsports had the team championship. I had to correct my facts there. Actually, it was Dark Horse Motorsports by 5 points who took the team championship. Nathan Jump going to bring it home solidly in 5th. We'll see if he can ride this momentum into the next season, with Elliot Henderson in 6th. Cy Jackson, the great finishes down the home stretch continue as he finishes 7th, with Justin Mons in 8th, Kyle Cooper in 9th, and we mentioned the comeback run there after pit road issues for Shane Neiswanger. He completes the top 10.
Yeah, kind of missing the fact that only 7 drivers on the lead lap. 150 laps of green, you're going to have a lot of drivers, the ones that made mistakes after a while. It's just easy to get down a lap. And James Shiflett coming home in 11th, started dead last on the field, moved up 11 spots to 11th. Nicholas Kressel started 12th, finished 12th. Brent Kingcott, Hunter Brittle, Rod Fausnow, Spencer Owens in 16th. Jackson Sims, we saw that big slide through the grass and ultimately a long pit stop. He finishes 3 laps down in 17th. Kurt Gibson, Eric Kepf, Brett Malone -9 in 20th, and then Lewis Woodall 21st, who called it about 30 laps short, and Jeremy Pienta rounds out our 22 finishers tonight.
What an incredible race here tonight, an incredible close to the season, and Matthew Weeks ultimately the champion in the 11th season of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series. One final time, want to shout out the sponsor for tonight's race. The Championship 225 was powered by Roundabout Gaming, November 21st. Head on over, the links are there for both Twitch and YouTube. 24-hour marathon where all donations benefit Extra Life. I took the opportunity here during this post-race wind down here to check out those links. Be sure to head on over there and join Austin, Tyler, Hunter, and Michael on November 21st for their 24-hour live stream. It should be a good one. We really appreciate them sponsoring tonight's championship race. Well, what a wild ride we were sent on here, Ross. From start to finish, we saw a little bit of everything. These drivers put together incredible shows no matter what type of venue we were at, whatever track configuration it was at. We saw long green flag runs. We saw strategy. We saw fuel strategy at Phoenix. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, what's really fun is like we get to be just fans of watching this, and I think the biggest thing that, and we just went through the standings. I think we're fans of a lot of these drivers, whether it's the ones that are winning 4 or 5 races, dominating, or the ones we're really excited when they're able to get that top 10 that they've been battling to get. So it's fun to see the different characters in this series and kind of cheer them on from what we get to do here every Tuesday night on Split Second. But yeah, I think the racing is always great. It's been awesome to see this series continue to grow and really get better over the years. I'm not saying it was ever bad, but there's it's been awesome to see these races where green flag races like tonight are normal. So it's really fun to watch, and ultimately a great test for these drivers every single week to navigate. And I really liked, though it's very grueling, at times can be a little tough, having this long season. It was really cool to see the drivers navigate that this year and come home in the end. We're done. This is it. We're finally to the end of the long season.
Certainly was an exciting season to observe. We thank everybody for tuning into our coverage, whether it was tonight or the entirety of the season. Once again, we congratulate Matthew Weeks as he is the Season 11 Great Lakes Racing Truck Series champion. For one final time, for Ross Brockman, our producer Jeff Johnson, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us here on this Tuesday night as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of Split Second Broadcasting.